Hello, everyone. Hey, it's Chris Hamilton here with Enter My Invoice, bookkeeping automation, and salestipaday.com. So Enter My Invoice is my accounts payable, accounts receivable company. Salestipaday.com is just the place where I put sales and marketing posts up and try to help people out with stuff like that. Anyways, I'm going to plow through this presentation this morning because of the fact that I've got a meeting coming up here in about 45 minutes. I want to make sure that you get all the valuable information that we can give. I'm going to take a quick second to take a drink of coffee. If you have any questions after the fact, if you're watching the replay, then feel free to reach out to me, chris.hamilton@entermyinvoice.com, or else at chris@salestipaday.com or 403-630-1243. I put a caveat on this presentation today. I work out of my house. I've got a home office. Love it. The unfortunate part is my kids are off school today, so there may be some banging. So that's some of the stuff that you may hear. So anyways, here we go. This is presented by entermyinvoice.com. We are an accounts payable and an accounts receivable software company. On the accounts payable side, we can reduce the manual data entry up to 90%. Making you more effective, productive, and such. Great for cleanup work and also for automating bookkeeping. On the accounts receivable side, we tie into a couple of industry, oil and gas industry e-invoicing platforms, Cortex and Open Invoice. And that said, if you want to find out more, feel free to reach out to me. I always put a fire hose in here. The reason I put a fire hose in here is it's like drinking from the fire hose. The nice thing about these Facebook, or when you're taking an event in with me, the nice thing about these Facebook events is that they are literally they are in my Facebook live stream on Enter My Invoices page, and you can go back and always watch it. At the end here, I got a special offer for people, so stay tuned. I got a special offer for people that would be looking at Enter My Invoice. I also have a special offer for people that are looking at sales and marketing sides of things. So here's what you're going to learn in this presentation today. I'm going to show you how to get an audio file for a podcast. I'm going to show you an easy way to get podcasting and also where to get your podcast found. So just before I get into this, I started podcasting, I'm going to say about 7 years ago. I did it really just because I was creating content, videos and such on my blog site. Then what I would do is I would rip the audio, and then I use this service called Podbean to create a podcast, and I get it out to the world for people to listen to. Now, it's from my standpoint, I just I did it for the longest time without even thinking about putting an effort into the podcasting. But I'll tell you what, podcasts are becoming greater. And people are listening to them. And I was shocked with the amount of people that actually listen to my podcast. So anyways, it's very simple to do. If you just kind of watch what I'm doing here today, you could start podcasting within an hour after watching this presentation. So here's the 3 steps that we're going to do. Is we're going to take a look at how to rip the audio from a video file. So in the past, I showed you about how to create videos, how to create a presentation, how to create videos, how to get them posted on different video sharing sites, and then what you can do with that stuff to get it promoted. Now what we're going to do is we're going to show you how to rip the audio from the from any of your video that you've created. I'm going to show you how to create a podcast in just a few slides, and I'm going to show you where you can distribute it. So the first thing is ripping the audio. This is the core and the essence of what you need for creating a podcast. And one of the things that I found, I use, if you just go Google rip audio from video, you're going to see a whole bunch of different sites, but I'm just going to show you one site. I've got another thing. I use a program called Miro Converter. And I just ripped the audio from that, create an MP3 file. But here's a super simple way to do it. If you go to www.downbids.net /download-youtube videos. And what you're going to get is you're going to go to a page where if you've posted your video to YouTube, you can copy that YouTube URL. And then what you do is when you go down here, you can convert it to an MP3. So you click here, convert to an MP3, and then you just download this file. And what happens is this file then comes in an MP3 format for you, which is the core of putting which is an audio file, which is the core of putting a podcast together. Now, I'm going to get a little bit more sophisticated. I use a Mac, so I don't look at PCs, so I don't give any information on how a PC works. But there's a program that comes with most Macs called GarageBand. And when you open it up, you can you have the option of creating different types of files, and one is a podcast. You click on that, you create a GarageBand file. And then one of the things that you can do is, I don't know if you can see it down the bottom, there's a record button. If you have a microphone, then what you can do is you can actually hit record and just start talking into the microphone, and it'll put the audio on here. And then what you can do is you can export this as a file, an MP3 file as well. The nice thing about this too is, not to get too technical, is you can put intros and outros in. You can do a whole bunch of nifty, fun stuff with GarageBand. So it's super simple to use. If you have a Mac and you want to see how to use GarageBand, my suggestion would be just go Google how to use GarageBand, and it'll show you how to do that sort of stuff. On a PC, you could say how to record audio, and I'm sure there's ways to do it on a PC. So that's one of the things that you can do. So that's how you create some audio files. Those are the two easiest ways that I use to create audio files. The other thing you can do too is if you have an iPhone or an Android or whatever, you can put an app on your phone and record anything on your phone as well. So you can use that as a recording device. I did that a couple of weeks ago when I was driving in the car. I created a post on the best sales email you could ever send. And then I just emailed it to myself, put an intro and outro in on GarageBand, and then uploaded it to a podcast. And it got listened to about 200 times. And that doesn't seem like a lot, but once again, when I'm talking about this multiplier marketing stuff, it's all about the different areas where you put your marketing message. So, if it goes on YouTube, you might get it seen 50 times, 100 times. You start putting a podcast together, you get 200, 300 there. Put a blog post up, you get 700 views. Put it up on different sharing platforms, you get a whole bunch of views. So instead of just creating one thing and creating a blog post to get 50 views, you start multiplying this, and you could get thousands or greater views of the same marketing content that you have. So that's kind of the core to that one. I'm going to go into creating a podcast. So when I first started creating a podcast, it was a lot of trial and error. It was, like I said, it was 8 years ago. So that's really kind of in the earlier stages of creating podcasts. Just give me a sec, take a drink of coffee. I was in the earlier stages of podcasting. And so the service that I use, there's a few services out there, but I recommend this. It's super simple to use. It's called Podbean, and you can go to podbean.com and set up an account. I think it's not, I don't believe it's free. It used to be free, but I know they have a paid account, and I think it's about $10 a month. But you know what? If you're serious about marketing, this is a great way to do it. And then the distribution channels I show you about afterwards is where you're going to get found. So in this case, I'm signed into Podbean on my account. What I do is I go up here to publish a podcast. When I click on that, it brings up a page that looks like this. So you've created your audio file. Hopefully you've put it somewhere where you can find it. What you can do is you pick this right here. It says choose file to upload. When you click on that, then what it does is it brings up an interface here. So it attaches your file. What you do is you can create a small little image that you want to put in here. If you want, you can put your title in here, and then you can put any of your information down in here as well as supporting documentation for the podcast with just a little bit of overview. I'm just going to jump over one of the slides here and just show you. So here's one of the steps that I'm combining. So I talked up front where I'm combining steps. One is ripping the audio. Another step is creating a podcast. Another one is transcribing. And this is a good part to put transcribing in. What you can do with your video or your audio file is get it transcribed. And I use a service called rev.com. And what it does is it's just based on a $1 per minute. That's $1 US per minute for transcription. And all you do is when you sign up for an account, click Get Started down here. And then what you do is you attach your file or you put your YouTube link in there. And what I found, it says it's a 12-hour turnaround time. I usually get these things literally in like 30 minutes or less, just because they're small. And they're fairly accurate. So what happens is they send you a Word document. And you do have to go through and take a look and see if sometimes if people can't understand what you're saying, it says inaudible and it'll be in brackets. So you just have to look for spots where it's got that information. But basically, it pulls a whole transcription together for you. Now, why do I say that? Is down here in the content area on the podcast, what this will do is it'll allow you to attach an image. You can put the information from this down here into the area down here, and now all of a sudden you've created a blog or a podcast post. And then what you do is down at the bottom, I didn't show it in here, but down at the bottom, you have the ability to schedule your podcast out into the future, or you can publish it right then and there. So that's just how easy it is to just create a podcast. Now, the distribution side of it's a little bit different, so I'll get to that in a couple of seconds. Now, one of the other things that I put in my podcast is I usually down at the bottom, I'll put some information in on a lead capture. So in this case, it's like text the word social 44222 in the US to register for a upcoming social selling success webcast. Or they'll click here or whatever. So people will say that stuff. I also put that, by the way, in my podcast. So when I create videos, I put a segment in at the beginning and at the end. Just started really doing more of this that talks about download a book, an ebook here, download a course here, do this, do that. So when I rip the audio, it's already in there. So when people play it, then that's how they can join my email list and get on my email list so that I can market to them. Don't worry about this side of it. I'm going to go into email lists and how it all ties together into this later on, because what happens is you're creating content, but what you want to do is you want people to contact you, and how they're going to contact you is either filling out a form, phoning you, or emailing you. So we're going to go through that in a few courses down the road here to show you how to tie all this together. But long story short is I put this in here so that I can get people to sign up for a webinar, or so I can get their name and email and start marketing to them. The other thing I do like about Podbean is that I can attach video files in and I can attach audio files in. And so video podcasts are just a secondary way that you can get the same marketing message out as well. So once again, this is that multiplier marketing effect. So you create the presentation, you put it up on YouTube, you distribute it, you can use it in blog posts. In this case, I'll rip the audio and use it in one podcast. A couple of days later, I'll put the video into a podcast so people will find it as well. So a couple of great ways to do that sort of stuff. So that's how easy it is to create a podcast. Now, here's the part that is going to help get you found. So you create a podcast. What you need to do is you need to go and register your podcast on different services so that you can get found. Let's see here. So with Podbean, it's really simple. When you're in Podbean, I'm going to go up here. When you click on your account, there's a help button down there, or there's a support button up here. If you just type in how to submit podcasts to iTunes, it's going to bring it up and it's going to walk you through how to do all this stuff. It's relatively simple to do, but you can see also how do I submit it to Google Play. There's a whole bunch of other things that you could do. So in this case, in iTunes, if you sign into your iTunes account and search on podcasts, down the right-hand side, it says how to submit submit a podcast. And then what you're going to need is you need your podcast feed. Once again, if you're in Podbean, they have this video tutorial that shows you how to get your podcast feed and where to put it and how to get your stuff into iTunes. It also shows you how to do it in Google Play. But on iTunes, what happens is when you go in, there's an iTunes Connect account. So you can Google iTunes Connect, use your Apple ID and your password, and you go in here, and then it'll just start showing, do you want to submit a podcast? It'll walk you through that whole process as well. But once again, just in Podbean, just Google this. There's a video and it shows you how to do it. It's so simple to do. So that's how you do that. The other one too is once you're in here, as I say, go into this the help area, how to submit a podcast to Google Play. Same sort of thing. I went in there, I clicked on it, and truthfully, I had not actually submitted my podcast to Google Play. Didn't even think about it. This is great. When you click on the link they give you, it gives you the ability to publish a podcast into to Google Play. So you can follow the steps that they show you in there. Here's another one that I use, although I don't pay much attention to it. It's called Stitcher. So Stitcher.com. You can set up an account to distribute it. As you can see, I don't get a lot of plays on my account here. So once again, I don't pay a lot of attention, but then again, I don't focus on it. I usually get more of my plays coming from iTunes and people finding me via Podbean as well. So there you go. That's how you create a podcast. It's pretty straightforward. The nice thing about it is I'll give you an example of how I create lead generation through this. Is once again, I create a video. It's got a segment in there with something that is what they call a kind of a lead magnet, something that someone may want. So in my case, it's recently it's been a 14-part LinkedIn sales prospecting course. And I tell them, if you want to get this, you can go to bit.ly/28 and 14, which is the link that will get you to the course for you to sign up. And then the other one that I use is lead digits in there. And that's something through a service called Lead Pages, which allows me to say, text LinkedIn 14 to 44222 in the US to sign up for this course. And when I put that in there, that message plays twice in my audio. And it just allows people, if they're listening to what I'm talking about and it makes sense, then it allows them to take an action, get on my email list, and allows me to market to them on a regular basis. The other thing too that I would say if you're creating a podcast is, and I've heard this from several people, is they were thankful that I included my email address and my phone number in there for people to reach out to me. So yeah, there you go. It's pretty straightforward. So tell you what, we're coming to the end here. It didn't take very long to do this presentation today, but you want more tips and tricks, you know what? Go to bookkeepingautomation.com, hit the vlog button, and I keep posting stuff up in here that's sales and marketing related to bookkeepers and accountants. If you are a bookkeeper or accountant, or even if you're not, here's something that might be of interest to you. It's a bookkeeping and accountant marketing tips and tricks course that's free on my Teachable site. Go to bit.ly BA_tips. B, A, and T have to all be capitalized, but in this case, you're going to get access to, I think there's like 20 hours of sales and marketing information on this right now. So it's a valuable asset for you as well. Here's the one I was just talking about, the LinkedIn course. I'll tell you what, if you want to access a LinkedIn little known sales and prospecting tips and tricks course, I've taken the 28 most asked questions out of this course now just because they're obsolete because of LinkedIn changing its platform. But if you go in and go to bit.ly/28 and 14, and you can you'll hit this page that says get instant access. The verbiage is a little different now, but hit instant access and just give me your name and email and you'll get access to it. Or if you want, if you're in the US, you can text LinkedIn to 44222 in the US. It'll ask you for your email address, and then you'll end up on the list. And literally what I do is every day for 14 days I send you a course, a segment of this course. The other thing too is in Canada, text LinkedIn 14 to 1-855-969-5300. This course, I say it's got $100 or $199 value to it. I think it's more than that actually, because I'll tell you what, I've generated millions of dollars in sales on some of the tips and tricks that I give in this, and I'm giving it away for free. Here's a special offer for anyone that's a bookkeeper or an accountant. You can get a 30-day trial of Enter My Invoices software. Just, you know what, the easiest thing is if you just go to entermyinvoice.com. We're accepting people as beta testers for a couple of weeks here, and then we're going to go live. It was supposed to be March 1st or January or something like that, but we had a couple of kinks we had to work out in the software, but we'll be good to go and ready to launch on at the latest April 1st, which is April Fool's Day, so hopefully I'm not joking you. Yeah, sign up. You'll be able to get it. This dramatically reduces the manual entry that you have to do when you're doing bookkeeping, year-end catch-up work. For accountants, it's a easy way to get a revenue stream. I have an accountant in Calgary here who coded 1,600 transactions in just a little over 3 hours. He made his effective hourly rate $450 or somewhere in that vicinity. Just by using our platform. So there you go, pretty straightforward. Next webinar is I'm going to show you the easy way to blog. So this is all the stuff that we've created up to now is now going to go into a blog post, which is then going to be distributed out to the world as well. Tell you what, you want to get notifications on any of the webcasts or Facebook Live events I'm doing, like our page, like the page, go up to the top, like the page, and that way you'll get notifications on this as well. I'm going to flip over and just see if there's any questions. And I don't know if it looks like there are no questions. Usually they come in after the fact. Tell you what, you want to reach out to me though? Contact me at Chris at entermyinvoice, or Chris.Hamilton at entermyinvoice.com, or Chris at salestipaday.com, or feel free to reach out to me at 403-630-1243. And yeah, that's how you get a hold of me, and hopefully you find this information valuable and have yourself a spectacular day. Thanks.